Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Write or Die Show. I am your host, Randi-lee. On today's episode, I'm going to be talking to Howard Berg. Welcome, Howard. Excited to have you on the show.
Well, welcome to having me.
There you go. So, like I said, we always start with the first question of tell us about yourself.
I'm the world's fastest reader, the Guinness World Record holder. I got in, my reading claim was in the 1990 Guinness Record book, and no one ever replaced it. So it's still the same person. I've been all around the world teaching people how to learn faster and understand better and use information and help kids as young as 11 go to college, many of them getting A's and on AP tests in as little as a week. I help business people make more money by using information more effectively, and older people stay mentally fit so they don't turn into a vegetable. So,
which is important, very important.
They found reading was the best activity for maintaining mental acuity as you age. I have a degree in bio and psych, so it's called psychobiology, not psychotic biology. That's Frankenstein. Psychobiology is the biology of behavior. And I did a lot of metaphysics training after I got interested in consciousness. So when I studied science, it was like genetics and psychophysiology. And I was like, if you looked at the brain of a Michelangelo, could you see the statue of David? Or if you looked at the brain of Da Vinci, could you see the Mona Lisa? It's bigger than the pieces that make it. It's a consciousness that seems to transcend the physiology and genetics. So I was a yogi when I was younger. I spent a lot of time in an ashram and I meditate. And I just try to expand my awareness to understand how the mind works on all levels, both on the science level and on the metaphysical level, and try to teach people how to expand their awareness as well.
Very cool. Yeah, I've always loved psychology. In college, I took every psychology class I could, and then went to university to do more psychology because it's just so interesting.
Yes. Yes. Fascinating. Problem I found, I wanted to get a PhD, but I found out that for every PhD in psychobiology, there were 2 jobs for every 1,000. So it was a 500 to 1 chance of getting a job. And I was like, I don't like those odds.
No.
You're gonna spend another couple $100,000 and maybe have 1 chance in 500. And it says, and plus, if that's the numbers, they're gonna pay poorly because if you don't want it, there's 499 other people lined up.
Yeah, exactly.
So how are you going to pay your loans back? So it was just not a practical. So I went a different path. I continued learning on my own and found business applications for psychobiology. And that's really what I'm doing.
All right. Well, that's good that you found something that a little bit more paid off in the end as opposed to the other way. Wow. Yeah. So let's talk about the mind and psychology, specifically, of course, mental health. What mental health have you dealt with?
I had to deal with a lot. I grew up in the projects in Brooklyn. Not a great place. It was West Side Story without the music and dancing. I met Bernardo. He had a knife and he wasn't smiling. So I had knives. I was beaten with bats. I had knives in my throat. Let's put it, we moved when they raped an 88-year-old man. So that kind of puts it in a perspective. When I say it was bad, it was bad. If you ever Google East New York, Brooklyn in the 60s, there's articles. It was the Wild West without the tameness of the Wild West.
Wow. All right.
The people in my neighborhood, their hobby was killing people. They were doing drive-bys. They were on the cutting edge. They were doing drive-bys before it was a real thing. They initiated that wonderful American pastime. So it was a scary place to grow up. And I was beaten with bats. I had knives to my throat. I was mugged maybe 100 times. My dad
How did you deal with all of that?
I got depressed.
Shocking! Wow, I'm surprised.
And anxious. If you think someone's out to get you and they're not, you're paranoid. But what if they are?
Yeah.
And it's not paranoia anymore. You're not thinking someone wants to hurt you. They really do. And they will when they find you. So that's not a great. And the worst part was you couldn't defend yourself because it was gangs. If you hurt one kid, they kill you. It
Oh,
was
that's
over.
true.
So you had to let them beat you up or die. Those were your two. You had two options. You could get beaten or die. Which would you prefer? So I'm still here. So I guess I chose well. But it was difficult growing up. It was dark, but I found a way out. And I could share with you some of what I learned about how to control negative emotional states to become a positive person.
Yeah, if that is what you use, then definitely share it with us, because it's all about what each individual person used to know what worked for them, because it might work for somebody else.
The hardest thing to do is to tell yourself you won't be anxious or depressed. I'll show you why. I'm going to control your mind. I'm telling you I'm going to control it. And everyone listening, I'm going to control your mind. You know I'm going to do it. You try not to let me do it. And there's not a thing you can do to stop me. And let me demonstrate, because it's related to the solution. Don't think of Mickey Mouse eating a pizza. And I'm pretty sure that the first thing your brain did was thought of Mickey Mouse eating a pizza. Okay, why is that? There's a reason. The unconscious mind doesn't recognize negatives like don't or no. What your brain heard.
I have heard about this before. Yes. Okay. Sorry, keep going. But I yes.
So now imagine you're depressed, Sam. I won't be depressed. I'm not depressed. What does your brain actually hear? I'm depressed.
Depressed.
I'm not anxious. I'm not going to be anxious. You're anxious.
Anxious.
Anxiety and depression don't exist except in our brain. If you look at the world out here, there's no anxiety, there's no depression. It's all between our ears. It only exists when you focus on it. It has life when you give it consciousness, when you vivify it by thinking about it or experiencing it. How do you fix it? You don't fix it by stopping it. That's like pouring gas on a fire. It only makes it more potent and powerful because you're fixing on it. What makes it disappear is focusing on the opposite. So no matter how depressed you might be at the moment, think about how blissful you actually are. No matter how anxious you are in the moment, think about how calm and relaxed you are. And what's happening is the focus, the energy, the life force that vivifies these negative states is being transferred to the positive state. If you could create a negative state that's debilitating, you could just as easily create a positive state that isn't. You change your focus from what's causing the pain and the problems to what the opposite would be, as if it's happening now and already occurring. Now, it's not going to instantly dissipate, but over time, what happens because of the lack of attention, the lack of focus, it ceased to exist. It never existed in the first place unless you gave it existence. Instead of trying to stop a negative, build a positive. The brain is good at building and creating, not uncreating. So when you focus on what it is you want to be, the state you want to have, and you keep your mind on that, the lack of focus on the other state makes it wither away like a weed with nothing to eat or feed on, and it just disappears. And instead you replace it with a vibrant, positive, happy state of mind that makes you stronger and more positive in your life. And you have that power, but it does take some willpower to do that, because it's easier to go downhill than uphill. And it's easier to stay with a bad habit that's draining the life out of you than to create a new one that hasn't been created yet. It takes more time and more effort. You have to be willing to put that time and effort in, but it's well worth it. I haven't had a problem in 50 years because awesome. I had to.
So when did you first learn about this and start implementing it for yourself?
Well, remember, I studied psychobiology.
Yep.
I also studied meditation and metaphysics. And I'll tell you, magic is real. I'm going to show you real magic. It's not a magic trick or a mirror. Magic is real. In fact, it's so real and ubiquitous, it's everywhere. Everything you see around you that isn't part of nature, a plant, a rock, an animal, is a thought that someone conceived of and made into your glasses. Someone thought of those. Your shirt, someone thought of making that shirt. The sign on the wall, the couch you're sitting on, everything that exists in our world that isn't made by nature is someone's idea that became something real. Magic really is turning an idea into a thing, taking an intangible, invisible, non-existent something and making it real. And that's what we're doing here. We're creating magic. We're changing what our brain is doing and how it's doing it by focusing on something positive. And I realized we have this incredible power to create in our lives, to make things happen. And what successful people have done is they've gotten better at turning their dreams and wishes and aspirations into reality. Now, where do I come in? One of the key elements in doing that on top of the focus is information. You have a dream, you have a desire. How are you going to make it real? You have to take action. How do you take the right action and not waste a lot of time? Well, I could read 10 books in 3 hours. I read 80 pages a minute. Now, a normal person, I had an 84-year-old read 3 books in 3 hours, normal person. So I'm going to say it's very easy for a person who's not me to read at least a book an hour. So now imagine you read 10 books on something that you want to accomplish that these 10 people have already done. What are you going to learn? The pattern. What did they all do in common? Because it worked 10 times out of 10. And you're trying to do the same thing they're trying to do. Why wouldn't it work 11 times out of 11? It's worked every single time. And you're seeing the resources they used, the strategies they used. Why do people buy marketing and business books? It's people who are making money marketing, saying, this is what worked. This is what made me money. This is how I built my widget. This is how I marketed. You're using someone else's plan. Instead of starting from scratch with nothing, you look at someone who's doing what you want to do successfully. And now one person, maybe they got lucky. It happens. You know, the coin landed on its side, like in that Twilight Zone story. It could happen. It's not likely to happen, but if you throw it up in the air a trillion times, probably once it would land on its side and balance there. It could happen. It's not out of the realm of possibility. But 10 people succeeding in exactly what you want to do, that's not a lucky streak. That's people doing things that need to be replicated. So by teaching, and we can go into this in detail, how to read fast and understand better, but ultimately by giving people this power to absorb information quicker, understand it better, retain it so they can use it when they need it, and creating the right emotional state so they can use it properly. They don't get nervous or anxious and then disrupt what they need to know because they can't think straight because of their anxiety or their emotional state. And when you combine all that, you can do some amazing things in your life. I'll give some, I had an 11-year-old C student, became a college professor at 22. 16-year-old graduates college with a 4.0, economics major, master's in math at 19.397 GPA, professor at Yale now. We had a guy pass the bar at 19 in California. It's another one. I did a 4-year psych program in 1 year while majoring in biology. I got an 800 on the GRE in bio, so I was in the 99th percentile. Those are just a few examples. One of my students did 4-year college in 6 months. He went to Thomas Edison, and they let you clep out, take tests for 90% because it's online. So he did 5 AP tests a week, which is incredibly hard. 1 online class. 6 months later, he's got his bachelor's, learned Chinese in 3 weeks, became a missionary, sold his company when he was 40 for $38 million, which that in itself is a missionary. How many missionaries make anything, let alone a company that could be sold for $38 million? That's what I do. By teaching people how to master information, they're in a position to do anything they dream of better by building on other people's knowledge base and success.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go back to when you first realized that you had depression. How old were you?
Very young. Uh, well, the first time I can remember, my dad left when I was 6. He was with Patton in World War II, so he had PTSD. But back then they called it crazy. They didn't understand it. So he was in North Africa, he was in Italy, he was in the Battle of the Bulge. Everyone who he was with died. He was the only one who didn't get killed. I could see how a young person in their late teens, early 20s, that could really screw up your head.
Oh yeah.
So one day he comes over, he says, my mother told me he was leaving. He was going to the hospital. And he said, I'm leaving, you'll never see me again. And I was 6 years old. And I remember watching him walk down the stairs and crying because I didn't want him to leave.
Yeah.
And I never saw him again. Well, that was my first bad experience with depression.
Yeah.
I was losing my father. That's not an easy thing for a person to deal with. When you're 6 years old, you don't exactly have the strongest emotional skills for dealing with that level of frustration.
No, and knowing where you grew up, I mean, there wasn't really good coping skills there, or, very friendly people by the sounds of it.
There wasn't a lot you could do. I'll give him, one day I was in school, the principal makes an announcement on the loudspeaker, so it's not an innuendo. Students are reporting they're getting stabbed in the hallway with hypodermic needles during passing. So when you go to your next class, watch behind you. And then the bell rings and you go in the hallway. And that's my junior high experience. And that was the principal. That wasn't some kid saying, I heard someone got stabbed with a needle.
Yeah.
The principal's telling you, people are getting stabbed today with needles. When you go to your class, make sure you watch behind you so they don't stab you. And then the bell rings and you go in the hallway. That was how I grew up.
And that was just a normal day.
Normal day. You didn't even tell my mom. I had a knife. I was a hall monitor and someone had to show me a pass. And they pulled out a big knife, put it against my throat. They said, this is my pass. What are you going to do about it? I said, I'm going to hold the door. They said, are you playing with me? I said, no, this isn't worth getting killed over.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Could have killed me. No one would have known. No one would have ever known who did it. I would have been dead. And then I went home and I didn't even tell my mom what happened. It was just another day of school. I didn't even say, by the way, this morning someone tried to kill me with a knife on my throat. I didn't even mention it. I just went home and did my homework.
Yeah.
It was just school. That was school. That was a normal school day for me. So yeah, that's tough. And when you're a child, you lack the emotional stability and intellectual acuity to cope with those problems the way an adult would. It would be hard for an adult, but they're an adult.
Yeah.
And they've learned better skills, but you're a kid. So it was hard. It was very hard. But I think it's one of the reasons I got interested in the brain. I was interested in trying to figure out what was going on in my brain and what could I do to fix it.
Yeah.
I think that's part of what motivated me. And I did fix it. And now I'm helping people around the world fix it in their world, in their lives. Because I'd say you came out of a very dark place, then there are people still in that dark place.
Yeah.
And you need to go back and take them by the hand and say, look, I was where you are. I know how you're feeling right now, but I also know how to get out of here. And I can help you do it too, if you want to. Mm-hmm. So I think that's kind of a karma thing. You were given the opportunity to do it, and now you have the responsibility to pay it forward and help more people do it.
Exactly. So during all of that time, and like you said, you didn't go home and tell your mom, did you talk to anybody about the way that you were feeling?
No, what are you going to say? They didn't know. It was normal to them. My dad grew up in Bronzeville, where Murder Incorporated was. And it was just Brooklyn. It was Brooklyn. They found all these dead bodies near where I live, where they put the bodies that they killed. There was like a few blocks from my house. So this is how you grew up. And there was nothing anyone could do. I mean, what are they going to do with Murder Incorporated? You can complain to the cops. They were on the payroll. I mean, it was just nothing you could do. You just lived. That was your world. You lived in it, and you kept your nose down. You tried to not aggravate someone who could go off and hurt you. And sometimes they would, even if you didn't do anything, because they were nuts and they were looking to cause. But I found a safe place.
Okay.
The safest place in my neighborhood was the library. Gang kids would rather be dead than go to the library. So I went a lot. I had college reading when I was 11 because I read a lot. Now, as bad as my childhood was, it was terrible, but it made me the person I am. I could never have been what I am today.
Mhm.
I read and read and read and read and read. You do something for years on end and you really get good at it,
Yeah.
then you can become the best in the world. Think of how many times Michael Jordan threw the basketball to be
Mhm.
able to do what he did. Well, that's kind of what I did with reading.
Yeah.
Would I have done that had I had other options? Probably not. I would have gone out and played like other kids. But
Yeah. Most kids don't sit in a library and read all day.
no, but that was my life. It was go in the library or get beaten. Which would you, if you had two choices?
Library. I'm at the library.
The worst thing in the library is a paper cut. You could get
Yeah.
a paper cut, which is better than getting hit with a bat, which I had also. I was chased with people. I was beaten with bats. So, and no, it wasn't just me. It was a lot of people who got
Yeah.
hurt. That was what the neighborhood, I got beaten up by the cops. They decided I was the head of a Puerto Rican street gang. I tried explaining that I wasn't Puerto Rican. That was like the first mistake they made. And
Yeah.
then I wasn't in the street gang, but they insisted I was, and I knew who everyone was, which I did. And when I wouldn't tell them who everyone was, because they didn't know, they punched and kicked me. So who do you call? It's the cops beating you up. You call a cop?
Yeah.
What are
That's
you
not really
supposed
going to solve the problem, is it?
Who are you supposed to call? It's the police beating you up.
Ghostbusters.
I'm 14 years old and I'm getting punched and kicked by police officers. One's holding me, the other one's beating me. That's for no reason. But that was the way I grew up. That was my child. So yeah, that can make you a little upset.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, okay, so let's go through and you finished high school, you went off to get your higher education. When did you finally, because growing up that way, and you've said it before, that's just normal, that's how you grew up. So when did you actually identify that that's actually depression, that's actually anxiety, that's not just the way I grew up, there's more to it?
College, because I studied psychology and I recognized some of the symptoms I had were not good. Because I'm learning about depression and anxiety. I'm like, yeah, I got that. And then I started thinking, how do I get rid of it? And fortunately, I did find what I mentioned to you.
Yeah.
The best way to get rid of it is not focus on it, focus on what you rather have. You can create any state you want.
And did you try other things first, or did you stumble upon that first?
Exercise works some. In fact, even now they say a good workout is like a Prozac. It releases endorphins. It's for anyone who's having any mental strain should be doing at least 30 to 60 minutes a day of some vigorous exercise to feed their body some positive energy. It does make it, one, the blood's flowing through your brain. It changes the muscles, the tension in the muscles, which causes a physiological response of tension and anxiety is alleviated. There's a lot of physiological benefits. There's endorphins flowing because of the physical activity, all of which help to reduce the state. But as a child, you know that when you're 12 years old or 14, I did learn it. It does work. And then my last year of college, I was my second half of my junior year. I told the dean I want to major in bio and psych, and he said, "You haven't had any courses in psych. You have 1 year left. You have to do the whole program in 1 year and take 6 science courses at the same time and 2 4-hour labs. And lab reports took 16 hours on a slide rule. So it's 40 hours of lab, 18 credits of science, and I had 3 jobs. I was working 18 hours a week. So that was a little stressful too.
Yeah.
I basically, from the minute I woke up, I was either studying in class or working. There was no social life. There was no time for relaxation, or I meditated, but there was no time for play. Pretty much 16, 17 hours a day of intensive study. I'm talking memorizing all the neural pathways in the brain in just one course.
Yeah.
And then 5 others, so it was really intense.
Yeah.
But again, I feel it made me a better person as an adult. I transformed my mind, I transformed my personality, and now I'm able to help. I don't
Yeah.
think I could have been what I am or helped the way I help without having gone through that.
Yeah.
And also gives you more empathy when you see people that are suffering or in pain. You can understand what that is like.
Mhm.
It's not like, why cheer up? No, that crap doesn't work.
Yeah.
I get
Good
it.
luck.
You're in a bad place. I know what that place feels like, but you
Yeah.
don't have to be there. There
Yeah.
is a way to fix this, and I show them how to do it. And I've helped a lot of people get on the right path as a result. And that makes me feel that my life's worth living. I'm doing something good. So I basically turned a lemon into a lemonade.
Yeah.
And I don't believe without that early trauma, I could have ever become the world's fastest reader. And I made a lot of discoveries on how to learn and use information faster, which I could share some of them with you if you'd like.
Sure. Give us the top tip that you give people.
Give you 3: how to read faster, how to comprehend better, and how to remember. Because I think those are the 3 things that really matter. They complement. Reading isn't learning. If it was, everyone reading a book would get an A. That isn't what happened.
Yeah.
You can memorize and you're not learning. You say, how could that be? You memorize every equation in your calculus book. You know every single equation, but you can't solve a single problem. You have no idea what to do with them,
Yeah.
how they work, what problems they solve, how to combine them in a sequence to find an answer to a problem. You know what they are. That's it. And that's a lot of the learning we see in our schools. You memorize names or words or dates. And when
Yeah.
they ask you, you know the name, the word, the date. You have no idea what it really means. So
It's regurgitation.
yeah. So it's the deeper understanding that matters. So I'm going to show you to read fast. When you're done with the show, pick a book you've read, preferably nonfiction, and time yourself for a minute. You can use a smartphone or a watch. At the end of the minute, you read for a minute normal, nothing special, just to see where you get. And see where you get. Take a pencil, mark it off. That's how far you read now. Now the magic. You go to the second chapter, take your hand and go one line at a time, the eye following your hand, and this is the key, as fast as you could comprehend. So as long as you know what you're reading, go quicker and quicker and quicker till you don't. And that's when you know, I'm reading too fast, because you already understand the book. There's only one reason you wouldn't understand it. You're reading too fast. So slow down just enough that you start understanding again. And for 5 minutes, go one line at a time, continually moving, eyes following your hand. And when you're done, go to the first chapter where you tested yourself. Time yourself for a minute using your hand, going as fast as you could comprehend. And you're going to go 20 to 40% further than the little mark you did in that first minute. That's step 1. And in the Berg learning program, that's the first step in learning to read faster. The second thing is comprehension. Most people would agree it's more important than speed. Nobody really wants to read fast. They want to learn fast. I had an interesting experience about 25 years ago when MSNBC first launched. One of their first hosts was Dick Cavett, who was a very famous talk show host. You're a little young. I don't know if you remember him, but he was like Stephen Colbert is today or Johnny Carson.
Okay.
He was in that caliber. He was very, very respected. So doing an interview like we are, and then after we had got to be friends, and I'm sitting around, we're talking after the interview, and he's telling me a story about Woody Allen. He said, well, Woody Allen took Evelyn Woods and told him he read War and Peace in 5 minutes. That's an enormous book. He says, Woody, that's incredible. What do you remember? And this is his answer. It's about the Russian Revolution. That's all I remember. And that was speed reading. It's a book about biology. You didn't learn any biology, but that's what you would learn if you read it. It's a math book. You didn't learn, because what happens when you're going with the mechanics, you have to do it all the time. When you stop to slow down, to read a word you don't know or a name, you lose your speed. So people pay a fortune They went faster, and as soon as they started learning again, they ended up slowing down to learn something. They lost their speed, which was not good. The man who owned Evelyn Woods and its heyday was Maurice Thompson Jr., and he hired me to teach my system to his son. And he said, you've gone past speed reading to speed learning, bringing it into the 21st century. And I'm going to show you how. Now, I studied the brain. So I took what I learned about the brain and how it makes sense out of symbols called letters and combined it with mechanics. So I'm going to read a passage that has no schema. Schema is one of the key elements that makes text meaningful. Then I'm going to read it again with a one-word title that has schema, and instantly it'll make sense after it did. Are you ready?
All right.
Schemaless, confusing text first. This is an easy thing to do. If possible, you could do it at home. You could always go someplace else if it's necessary. Beware of overdoing it. This is a major mistake. It may cost you quite a bit of money. You have no idea what I'm talking about. There's no schema. I'm going to read it again with a one-word title, but the word has schema. And watch how instantly it all makes sense. The one word, laundry. Laundry, this is an easy thing to do. If possible, you could do it at home, but you could always go someplace else if it's necessary. Beware of overdoing it. This is a major mistake and may cost you quite a bit of money. No confusion. By teaching people where these clues are and how they work, they can go 2, 3, 4 times faster in very technical material, law, medicine, chemistry, calculus, and understand it better. Because they're not just moving their eyes and hands quicker. They know what to look for. They know where to find it. And it works like a decoder ring, turning the confusing information into meaningful, useful information. So that's step 2.
Okay.
Step 3 is remembering it. If you don't remember it when you need to use it, which is what often will happen, I think I knew how to do this once, but you don't remember it now when you need to do it, so it's useless. How many times you've gone to a seminar or a training, 4 weeks later, all you remember is that's some good donuts and I made a few friends. Everything else is gone. So I'm going to show you the speed memorize, and then I'll show you how to speed learn, and how to take notes to learn more, if that will help you.
Sure, if you can condense it.
I'll do as best I can. If not, we'll do another time. We'll come back. So here are 10 things to remember. You won't be able to. Then I'll show you how, and you won't be able to not do it. Even 3-year-olds can do this. You want to remember pole, shoes, tricycle, car, glove, gun, dice, skate, cat, and bowling pins. I'm pretty sure you don't know all 10. You will, in 3 minutes, know them backwards and forwards effortlessly. 2 caveats. Remember, 10% of what you read, 90% of what you say and do. What I'm about to do with you is not a drill, it's a tool. You will use it. So when I ask you and our audience to say and do it to lock it in so you can use the tool. We know from thousands of years ago, the Greeks and Romans discovered a shortcut for learning a list, like what we just got. Take a list you know, it's hanging in your memory. And what do you do with a hanger? You hang things on it. I'm going to bet you and our audience can count to 10. I feel very confident that that's something everyone watching can do. And we're going to use 10 numbers to learn 10 things super fast. Are you ready?
All right.
Number 1 looks like a pole, like a flagpole. What's 1?
Pole.
Good. You wear 2 shoes, so 2 is shoes. What's 2?
Shoes.
What's 1?
Pole.
3 is a tricycle, 3 wheels. What's 3?
Tricycle.
2.
Shoes.
1.
Pole.
4 is a car, 4 tires on a car. What's 4?
Car.
2. Jump to 2.
Shoes.
1.
Pole.
3.
Tricycle.
And you're looking for your picture. 5 is a glove. 5 fingers in a glove. What's 5?
Glove.
3.
Tricycle.
1.
Pole.
Getting smarter. 6 shooter. 6 gun. They love them in Texas. 6 gun. What's 6?
Gun.
4.
Car.
2.
Shoes.
Perfect. Lucky 7 and dice. Lucky 7. What's 7?
Dice.
5,
glove,
3,
tricycle,
1.
pole,
We're almost done. Rhymes work. Say 8, skate.
8, skate,
What's 8?
skate,
6, what did they love in Texas?
gun,
4,
car,
2.
shoes,
How many lives does a cat have? 9. 9 is a cat. 9 is a cat. What's 9?
cat,
7's lucky in what game?
dice,
Gambling. Dice. 5,
glove,
3,
tricycle,
1.
pole,
Last one, 10. You're bowling. How many pins are in a lane?
oh,
10 bowling
10.
pins. What's 10?
pin,
What's 1?
pole,
What's 2?
shoes,
What's 3?
tricycle,
What's 4?
car,
What's 5?
glove,
6, Texas.
gun,
7's lucky in.
dice,
8 rhymes with.
skate,
9 is a.
cat,
What was the 10?
pins,
There you go. This is a way to speed learn numbers. Let me show you how to use it. You're in a hotel, your room is 314. How many times by the time you get to the lobby, you forgot the room number? Numbers are tricky. Turn them into pictures. 3 is a tricycle, 1 is a pole, 4 is a car. Make a movie. Tricycle hits a pole on a car. Picture the movie. Tricycle hits a pole on a car. Tricycle, what number?
3,
It's a pole
1,
on a car.
4,
That's your hotel room. Tricycle, pole, car. Now, in school, 3.14 is pi to measure a circle. So I teach this to children for math, science, and history, business, due dates, percentages, room numbers. The 0, because numbers go from 0 to 9, is the 10 bowling pins. So now you have a picture for every digit. And when you need to learn a number, look for the pictures, string them together in a funny, meaningful movie. We call the movie, and as you see each element of your movie, it brings the number back.
That's so. When I took psychology, whichever one it was, and we had to memorize different parts of the brain or whatever, and the hippocampus. So I remember that by making a little movie because you will never forget seeing a hippo on campus.
It's part of the limbic system, the amygdala, hippocampus, cingulate, gyrus, thalamus, hypothalamus. I remember that.
But you'll never forget seeing a hippo on campus.
No, and that's a good way to remember. Exactly. That's an excellent example of how to remember something fairly technical with very little effort.
Yeah.
So yes, you're completely right.
So tell people what it is that you have written.
Well, I have a program, reading, writing, memory, and math. The reading program's in 109 languages. It'll double to quadruple their learning rate. Not just their reading, they'll learn, they'll understand, they'll know what to look for, they'll know how to remember, they'll know what to do when they're confused to make sense out of something, how to stay in the right state. And it's at berglearning.com. There's some free lessons to get started. My writing program is for writer's block. I wrote a book in 5 hours. It went #1 on Amazon the next day. So this is how I write super fast, and so can you. We had 11 to 15-year-olds do 28-page MLA cited reports at the graduate level in 4 hours. And it sounds hard. It's not. It's no harder than the memory was. It always sounds hard till you know how it's done. When you know how, and my feeling is solutions should be easier than problems or the new problems. The memory program goes into a variety of different ways to learn, because one thing doesn't work for everyone in every subject. Learning a language isn't reading the newspaper, and reading the newspaper isn't preparing for surgery and learning every minute detail or killing someone if you make a mistake. So they're all reading. It's not the same thing. Math is speed math. And if they go to berglearning.com, not only will we help them, if they need help, we have a support team. I help if they don't help. Because for two reasons. I want to know what's going on. I want to know what's causing the problem so I can fix it. And over 35 years, I've made enough fixes that there's no problems anymore. Very, very, very few.
Well,
And
that's
help
good.
their children do better in school and get jobs that can pay bills later, not minimum wage jobs. It will help them make more money at work because everything's based on information. It'll help their parents not turn into gelatin as they grow older and not know who they are. I'm 72. I don't think anyone would look at me and say he's an old person. I'm writing, lecturing, I swim half a mile 3 times a week, I lift weights, I keep myself doing. As long as you
Wonderful.
keep doing, you're young. When you start doing nothing and sitting in front of the TV, you'll become a vegetable. And too many people are doing. I live in a community where a lot of people are doing that. It makes me sad, but I can't make them make the right decisions. I can only make my own.
Yeah.
What motivates me is I think our country's in trouble and our world's in trouble. No one says there's too many smart people making too many good decisions. I haven't heard that. And I'm looking at our children. We're giving them global warming and exploding deficits. The virus is only one virus. There'll be more. And what are we doing to make them smart enough to fix the problems we're giving them? Nothing. That's what I'm doing. I want to empower them to be prepared. At 11 to 15-year-olds, one of the kids' brothers had Down syndrome. They decided they wanted to start a not-for-profit to help find a cure. They learned how to make a website on their own because they had to learn. They learned public speaking. Their first year in business, these 11 to 15-year-olds made $93,000 US and won the Silver Pyramid, which is the Academy Award in Advertising in Vegas. They won as the best not-for-profit business in America. They beat Rotary. They beat
Wow.
Red Cross. They were 11 years old. What if every child in America learned how to do that? What would we be like in another 10, 15 years? That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to give people this tool that'll help them, their kids, and their seniors be more productive and successful. And I can't do it myself. If you go to berglearning.com, together, I think of us as a family, the human race. We're only as strong as the weakest person. And if we can work together, and if I can help each person be better at what they do, whatever that is, maybe a doctor reads 50 more books and finds the cure for cancer because they had 10 more books, 50 more books no one else read before. That's what I'm looking at, global warming. By giving people this ability to learn quickly, understand better, the synergy of it is it'll help make a better world ultimately. And maybe more people will make better decisions than what we see today. They'll make it based on facts and reality instead of a lot of what we're seeing. And I don't blame them. They don't know any better. But when you empower them to learn and think and understand and connect the dots, that could change everything. And that's why I'm here today. So please try berglearning.com.
We're going to put that link in the description down below so people can very easily click on it.
I can help, but they have to, it's like they have to take that step. I can't go.
You got to do the click.
I already know how to do it.
Go in the description, click the link, and then go and check out that website and see all of these wonderful things that are available to you.
If they have a question, you can go to howard@berglearning.com. I do private lessons. I work with companies. I tutor kids. I have one kid now. He's in college. Call him a kid. He had to learn 93 Greek and Roman gods. And I taught him how to speed memorize them. And he learned them like less than an hour. He knows every one of them now.
Wow.
That's what I do.
That's impressive.
It's like anything else I showed. Nothing I showed you was hard.
No. And I mean, for anybody who knows me, they know I have a horrible memory. So
I can fix it.
So thank you again for coming on the show and sharing a little bit with us.
Thank you. And you do know what a hippocampus is, so that's impressive. Not everyone does.
Told you, I took a lot of psychology, and that one really stuck in there because you will never forget a hippocampus.
And that's what makes you remember also, as you know, that's the part of the brain that makes memories permanent. There's two mechanisms, emotion and repetition. And the hippocampus is like you get married, you don't forget it. You have a child, you don't forget it. That's your hippocampus at work.
Exactly. All right. So thank you, everybody. Check out the link down below, and we'll see you next time. Bye. That was so great. And actually, we continued our conversation afterwards. And he told me about an app that I thought was fabulous. And so it's called Readwise. So if you are reading on your Kindle, you can highlight stuff and it's going to make flashcards for you and stuff. So studying, if you need to do that, is 10 times easier now. Where was that when I was in college? I'm going to make all my own flashcards by hand. Anyway, so I just wanted to share that with you. And if you wanted to check out our merch store and support the show, remember 10% of the proceeds go back to the Canadian Mental Health Association. As well, we do have a Patreon where you can get some behind the scenes footage and some behind the scenes, or first to look at some of the things that I am up to in writing. And of course, remember, the only way to end the stigma of mental health is to speak openly and honestly.